Hi there, welcome to the second episode of my 10-minute moan today. And the topic of this 10-minute moan is about disgraced Michael Matheson, who actually did accept £12,700 as a golden handshake after he resigned for having his expenses claim published. And this is an exclusive in the Daily Express, who have obviously done a Freedom of Information request to give them the information to put this out in public. Now, Freedom of Information requests come from the Scottish Government, the responses come from the Scottish Government, so I'm sure some nationalists, the mad cult members, will go, but that was the Scottish Daily Express. Correct. But the information that they're using is from the Scottish Government. So if you want to accuse them of being anti-SNP, pro-unionist, or whatever the hell you want, crack on, because you're actually arguing about information given by the Scottish Government. Okay? So their headline is, Disgraced SNP MSP Michael Matheson does accept taxpayer-funded £12,700 golden goodbye after expenses resignation. The shamed former Scottish Government Health Secretary did pocket the substantial payoff after calls were made for him to hand it back for quitting in disgrace. Now, what happened here is, in case you've lived in the moon, he got caught claiming back £11,000 for his mobile use while in Morocco during the Christmas holiday break between 23-24 and claimed the money back off the Scottish Government. Then months later got caught, and we were all told how wonderful he was because he paid it back, so that made the crime not count, right? So disgraced SNP MSP Michael Matheson did accept his £12,700 taxpayer-funded golden goodbye despite attempting to cheat the Scottish Parliament out of £11,000. New records acquired through Freedom of Information legislation show that the shamed former Scottish Government Health Secretary netted £12,712.25 in resettlement grants. Calls were made for him to turn this down after he was forced to quit Humza Yousaf's administration after receiving a damning report about his behaviour. All Cabinet Secretaries who leave the role are eligible for 3 months' salary paid as they settle into the backbench role. This is him settling into a backbench role that only turned up to work twice after leaving his government ministerial post, if you remember. And that was in days where they needed votes, like when we had calls for votes of no confidence. Michael managed to get to his work. This was after Michael delayed the committee that were investigating his behaviour. Remember, he couldn't come because he was sick and stuff like that, but he managed to turn up to Holyrood in days when there was important votes taking place. He wasn't sick in those days, all right? So this is what he was getting paid, this 12 grand on top of his MSP salary of £72,000, which is what, 6 grand a month. We give him another 12 grand for 3 months of his ministerial wages. What a place. It means that even although Mr. Matheson paid back his attempted expenses claim of £11,000, this extra cash boost means that he's not really been out of pocket at all by the scandal. And if you work it out, he's actually 2 grand up, because I think he returned something like 10,007 or 10,900 quid, and he's got 12,700 quid for being caught. So he's actually 2 grand up in the deal. It's class, isn't it? You couldn't make that shite up. Where are we? So anyway, he's currently suspended from Scottish Parliament until September after being found guilty of improper conduct. But we only took his wages off him for 2 months. Opposition critics blasted this revelation as he pocketed the money. Scottish Tory Chairman Craig Hoy told the Scottish Daily Express people will be appalled that Michael Matheson, having wrongly claimed £11,000 of public money and then lied about it repeatedly, should now be getting even more for standing down as a minister. Most people think he should have not received a penny of taxpayers' money and should resign as an MSP. Well, I've actually got slightly different views on that. I think he should have been sacked from both roles, because that's what normal people would do. You know, somebody steals, okay, they paid it back, but they only paid it back when they get caught. Somebody steals £11,000 from their company on expenses that they're not due, get caught, they get fired. Gross misconduct, cheery by now, right? That's what would happen to normal people. but not the SNP cult. When John Swinney stands up and says he's my pal and nearly starts crying about the bugger, right? Where did I get to? The shamed Falkirk West MSP attempted to claw back £11,000 in expenses from Scottish Parliament after racking up a significant bill while on holiday in Morocco. He didn't try to claw it back. He did claw it back. We paid for it, right? After it became public knowledge, he repeatedly insisted that the bill was due to him doing constituency work and a faulty EE SIM card. He then lied to both the media and politicians that he, as he stated this position despite being told by his kids that the cost was their fault. He tearfully came clean in a ministerial statement confessing that his children had used the hotspot in order to watch Scottish football games. This prompted a parliamentary investigation into his actions, which found that he repeatedly ensured officials that the expenses were correct, even though he told them, even though they told him that it could only have been that much if he'd been using it for streaming. He also failed to tell this presiding officer about his kid's confession. First Minister John Swinney blew up the SNP's general election campaign by disputing the punishment decided by MSPs, a suspension from Parliament for 27 days and his salary being withheld for 51, claiming it was prejudiced. In the end, the SNP refused to vote for any sanction and he was never suspended by the party. Mr. Matheson accepting the payoff was labelled hypocritical as both him and Mr. Swinney rallied against golden goodbyes when in opposition in 2002. This just gets better. An SNP leader back then, he commented on former Deputy Justice Secretary who netted £6,000 payout after quitting a role when he referred to striking firefighters as fascists. So when Swinney was a leader the last time, a former Deputy Justice Secretary made some stupid comments, get £6,000, and Swinney said this wasn't fair and spoke up against it. And this is the First Minister, by the way, saying this 22 years ago. The now First Minister said, in any other job, if you are found guilty of gross incompetence, you do not receive a payoff, but you simply get a P45 and shown the door. Mr. Matheson, as in that's Deputy Justice spokesman, added it was completely ridiculous that Mr. Simpson was entitled to money. They vowed the SNP manifesto would include a promise to end such practice. Scottish Parliament spokesman said legislation states that after a 90-day period, the equivalent of 3 months' salary is payable on ceasing to hold a ministerial position. The SPCB has no discretion in relation to payments of resettlement grants. The SNP had been approached for comment and said, bugger all. So there we go. That's not, that's new information. Well, it's not new information. It's just information I didn't know about. That back in 2002, both him and Swinney were upset because an in minister got hunted at the post and get paid £6,000. These crackpots, fast forward the clock, when the two of them are involved, it's now all right. And this is the sort of double standards that I just can't cope with for the SNP. Remember when the Tories were going through like leaders every fortnight, remember that? And every time you'd hear Nicola Sturgeon saying that they're unelected and there should be a general election. Well, since Nicola left, we've had another 2 unelected SNP First Ministers, but it doesn't count now because it's only Holyrood, right? I despise these people. These people are cretinous. I am now speaking to more and more nationalists and more people that have been members and very active members at that of the SNP. And to a man and lady, they are sick of it. And they tell me often about ridiculous instances where the double standards and the treachery are apparent in their party. And over the coming weeks, I will be interviewing some of these people and putting their stories to the good Scottish public. And I hope I can get them done before the general election in the 4th of July, so that you people, the good Scottish public, can make your own mind up whether you vote for these people any longer, because they are despicable. They are despicable. They have ruined the country for the Unionists, and they have ruined the independence dreams of nationalists, all but the most warped, cult-like members that they still have. And there are some of them. There's still plenty of them, actually. But day by day, hour by hour, more and more are obviously seeing the light. And I believe they will suffer over the next 2 elections. So if you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up. If you have not already done so, please subscribe. But most importantly of all, unless you're John Swinney, unless you're Michael Matheson, unless you're any of the decrepit bunch of people still supporting the SNP, see everybody else, have a great day. Cheery bye now.